All right, so recently I watched The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. And I gotta say, I like them with an older Batman. And I know they're based off of the story by Frank Miller, and because it says so in the credits. But I haven't read that, so I'm just going off of the animation itself. And I liked it. I liked the older Batman. The seemed kind of grittier. He wasn't he wasn't as dynamic, but it was pretty interesting. Now, let me talk about part one first. The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 is basically, Batman's in retirement. He hasn't been seen, I believe it's like 10 years or something like that, or maybe longer. And there's a gang of mutants, that's what they call themselves. And they're just terrorizing the streets and everything, slicing dice. And, they're going around, nobody's really stopping them. Commissioner Gordon is on his way out. He's about to retire. He got a new, some woman coming in, taking his place, new commissioner. There's a lot of things happening. And, Bruce Wayne's walking the street. They try to jack him, the mutants, because they're like getting bigger and bigger, more rampant. And there's nobody really putting them in check, putting a stop to them. So, after watching the news, seeing things going down, he's like, I can't stay in retirement. And, he dons the Batman costume again and, goes out and has to take care of business. And what I liked about it is, it shows it build up. I mean, you could see it coming, but I liked that he was older, but he wasn't weaker in the sense that his skills had decreased. But they did show some things he had to think more. He was even saying some things like, I can't just go at it like I used to, because, age plays a factor when you're fighting someone younger, stronger, and quicker than you. And, in the end, he fights the mutant leader, which you could probably figure out because, there's a game that there's a leader. And that the final fight before, because it leads to the next one. So if you want to watch the next one, or if you're going to watch part 1 and 2, because, they're basically, they can be watched separately because they're two separate stories. One just kind of references the previous story and it kind of helps you see what was going on. But you can watch part 1 and part 2 separately. They're not just one constant story, but it helps you see where these people came from. Because after Batman beat the leader of the mutant gangs, they all split off and separated into separate gangs. And, they separate and be like, okay, we're going to be the Sons of Batman, or we're going to be like this group or that group. And so the major gang, their leader was defeated, they separated, just jumped on the bandwagon of somebody else. But still, Batman, he had the bat tank and all his gadgets and things, but they brought in Robin, a girl Robin, that was a young girl. And when I first saw her become Robin, I thought it was stupid. But it wasn't like him making her Robin. She just was like, I'm gonna put on the outfit, like go to a Halloween shop, buy a costume, and just, jump around, because who's really like Batman? They say he's back, they're young. They don't know a whole lot about him. And I was like, that was interesting. But she wasn't like, oh, there she is. And then Batman's like, okay, you're Robin. Do what I tell you to do. But at the very end, he was like, yeah, you can come with me. And I was like, okay, I like that they didn't give her a bunch. And even in part 2, she didn't have like a whole bunch to do. But he had her doing some stuff. But I like that they didn't have her like, oh, okay, she's Robin. Now go beat up a bunch of people. They didn't have it like that. And I enjoyed that aspect. But yeah, The Dark Knight Returns, Part 1. I would say check it out. It's interesting. If you're more into the cartoony Batman stories, this one is going to be like The Brave and the Bold. If you're into that and you don't really like the other Batmans, you might not like this one as much, because it gets kind of violent. Especially in the second one, Part 2. In the first one, you mainly have the mutants, who's just like a bunch of nobodies in there, to me. Then you have, the Joker's in Part 1, but he's like a brain damaged or something. He's just, in an insane asylum, or just a nut house, just sitting there going through therapy and things. And then, at the end, he sees, Batman on TV, his smile comes back. And then in part 2, Batman, he's working with the girl, and he's going back to doing his thing. And in part 2, the Joker wakes up. But I would say definitely if you I'm getting off topic. I would say definitely if you want to check it out, check out the Batman: The Dark Knight Returns Part 1. I would say you check it out. It's pretty good. And now for Part 2, The Dark Knight Returns Part 2. It's some violence in it. I mean, the Joker. Everybody knows who the Joker is. He comes out of his daze when he starts seeing Batman on the screen again, and he just does what he does. It's not Saturday morning Joker. This is the Joker like he really is. Killing people, and laughing about it, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Even the girl Robin was fighting somebody, and things happen. And I just was like, this is more grittier than, most of the Batman cartoons I've seen. And I really enjoyed that. I like the second one better than the first one. I just gotta say, I like The Dark Knight Returns, Part 2 better than Part 1. I just have to get that out there. But it was, it was gritty. Batman's just beating people up. It's one part. It's not really giving anything away. But the Joker goes on like a talk show like Conan or something. And, Batman's outside the studio. And I don't know what Batman was trying to do. Because, like, I kind of know he was, like, seeing what's going on. But I'm not sure what he was trying to do when he knew, like, the police was waiting for him. And, guarding the Joker to make sure he didn't do nothing. And Batman basically beat up all the cops so that the Joker could escape. I know that's not what he meant to do, but I'm like, why did you even go down there to begin with? Because you just dropped down, and now nobody's watching the Joker because you're fighting the cops, and the cops are fighting you, and you're injuring most of the cops. And then he had like disguises and things in this one. I was like, this is a cool Batman. But what almost ruined it for me, is when Superman showed up. Yes, Superman was in this one. And okay, it's gonna come out like I hate Superman, but I don't just hate Superman. I just strongly dislike Superman as a character. And like some of the things that Superman did in this movie was like, I was watching it thinking, okay, Superman's he's like Captain America for Marvel now. But, he's going against his own principles because he was going off killing people if the president told him to kill him. So the president's like, Superman go kill people, and now he's going to kill people. But I don't really like Superman that much. It might just be me, but it's just, he seems so basic and generic. But enough of that. I liked how it ended. Batman isn't stupid. Batman, like I always said, Batman's the better fighter. Superman's just really strong. But Batman is definitely Batman. Let's just put it that way. I love the Batman character. I don't like Superman at all. But anyway, Superman. When I first saw Superman in it, I was like, this is gonna ruin number 2 for me. But it didn't. But it was pretty good. I like Part 2 better than Part 1. Even with Superman in it, Superman didn't ruin it for me. He was doing some things. I was like, okay, Superman, you're doing what logically a country would make somebody of your abilities do in certain situations. And then I was like, he wasn't all goody. But Batman wasn't, no coward, no punk. Batman did his research, basically. And so basically, I'm just like, Part 2, I like better than Part 1. Part 1 was good. Part 2 was better in my opinion. If you can only watch one, I would say check out Part 2. But if you can, get both of them and watch them together. The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. Definitely recommend you checking it out and enjoying it.